What if I were to tell you there's another character within Star Wars that has a very similar story to Ahsoka Tano? And it's something that I didn't really think about until I started making another video, doing research for it, and then now here we go. I'm making this video now on a whole different subject. Another video will still come out eventually, but here it is. So as I was doing research, I began to realize that Ahsoka and Maul are actually very similar characters, and they both represent flaws within a Jedi and both represents flaws within a Sith. They are essentially two sides of the exact same coin. Ahsoka trained and fought to uphold the Jedi Code and fight during the Clone Wars. Maul was trained for years by Palpatine and was trained to uphold the Sith Code and also bring the Sith plans to light. He also did bring a lot of health to the Sith plan. Although his journey within the Sith's grand plan was cut short by Obi-Wan Kenobi, he still made great strides and brought it closer to fruition, but was eventually completely abandoned by the Sith. As we all know, after Maul lost to Obi-Wan Kenobi on Naboo, he was left quite literally in pieces. But his body wasn't the only thing in pieces, his mind was as well, so when a Savage Opress found him, he had to bring him to Mother Talzin and completely repair his mind. Once he repaired his mind, he was back to being the old, calculated Darth Maul that we all knew and loved. Maul had to be completely restored because he went completely insane. The only thing still pushing him now is his hatred for Obi-Wan Kenobi and his need for revenge. But even after Maul was completely repaired and brought back to normal, Palpatine would still want nothing more to do with him, and Maul knew this. So at this point, he only abided by his own rules. He was just a dark side force wielder, no longer binded by the Sith Code and no longer following the Sith. Although obviously Maul was still a practitioner of the dark side of the Force, that never changed about him, but the only thing that did change is he no longer had loyalty to the Sith. And this is exactly why later on in life, when Palpatine found him and Savage Opress and killed Savage, Palpatine was trying to take them out because they knew too much. Maul knew too much specifically. He wanted Maul dead. And that is also too because Palpatine understood the nature of the Sith, and that at some point Maul would come after him with revenge on his mind. Not only hatred would he have for Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he would have some hatred for Palpatine as well. Because Palpatine could have done something exactly the way he did for Darth Vader later on the banks of Mustafar. He could have rebuilt him, helped him rehabilitate, but he didn't. He had just left Maul for dead, and that's exactly why he hates him. And we all know Ahsoka Tano's story. We all know Ahsoka had left the Jedi Order because she felt as though she had been betrayed by the Jedi, which she was. For some unknown reason, the Jedi were just so adamant about taking down Ahsoka Tano, I even know that she had evidence pointing towards the fact that it was Barriss Offee. Only a few Jedi actually believed in her, and one of those being her own master, Anakin Skywalker. Also, Jedi like Plo Koon and Obi-Wan Kenobi did believe in Ahsoka, but they just had to get evidence in order to prove it. But I do have a whole video talking about the Jedi Council and that whole point, so I'm going to actually skip over the whole extra points that I'm going to make because it's going to just delve too deep into what my next project is. But Ahsoka no longer served the Jedi, even when she came back to serve alongside this 501st during the Siege of Mandalore because they really needed her help. She made it clear that she was no longer a Jedi. She no longer served the Jedi Order, but was still a strong practitioner in the light side of the Force. And that's all that she had became at this point of her career. But instead of being filled with hatred and revenge like Maul was, she was filled with sadness and regret once she found out that the Jedi Order had fell, or once she felt it through the Force. She partly blamed herself for why Anakin Skywalker fell. She hadn't abandoned him. She felt as though that he could have actually not changed. But little did she know that these plans were set forward way before her time, so she shouldn't blame herself for it, but yet she still did. And these are the reasons why Ahsoka and Maul are two sides of the exact same coin. They were both very similar in a way that their orders treated them, especially during the Clone Wars, such a pivotal point in galactic history. And hopefully later on when you're rewatching their fight, you would think about this information and just think about it a little bit deeper and realize just how many nuances are in this fight. This is why Star Wars is so freaking great. So next time when you're watching this fight, hopefully you realize these little nuances and you can appreciate the fight a little bit more. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. May the Force be with you guys, and as always, have a great rest of your day.